The place of celebration. The Bible is full of celebrations and encouragement that people should celebrate. I think there are three things when you talk about celebration that are important. Number one is a memory enhancing device. When you celebrate, it means you talk about what happened, and therefore it creates memory. Some of the things young children remember is they would not have remembered if it were not that it was celebrated until some of the things they are the ones remembering, but really it's because the adults talked about it quite a long time. And it's important to understand that celebration helps to retain a family and institution's memory. So when God is encouraging them to celebrate it so that they do not lose that memory. And whether you're talking about a birthday or a wedding celebration, whatever it is, not during the celebration and leaving it to chance, you might end up 5-10 years, you have never talked about it. Within no time, the details are forgotten. And whatever the excitement was is gone. The second thing that I think comes out of celebration is that it gives you a time to relax. You know, there are so many challenges that you are facing in life. Isn't it good to just lock the problems and just remember a good time and think about the goodness of God and how things went well? And as you actually start remembering that history, you relax and be energized to face the challenges, because the challenges will still be there tomorrow. But for now, you don't have to think about those challenges. You just think about how good they are. So celebration is a chance of rejoicing. That's why many people will normally have food to go with the celebration, so that it creates the atmosphere of relaxation. You're not only remembering history, you are enjoying today. In fact, sometimes the celebration is so good that you start remembering the celebration. Whenever you are celebrating that thing, you remember the celebration of that particular year. And it's important to do that. It's a way of relaxing many people that are stressed. If only they would have more celebrations when they lock up issues, and they can just concentrate on rejoicing. But the other thing that helps with the celebration is the fact that it creates thankfulness. You know, the songwriter says, count your blessings, name them one by one. Celebrations help you to count your blessings. And it will build your faith as you think about what God did that time for which you are celebrating. And whatever the problems you are having today, when you remember that God is the same yesterday, today, and forever, what that does to you is that it gives you the courage to trust Him even for new challenges. So if you are really going to have a good Thanksgiving, it must be a way of answering the question, what was the role of God in the issues being celebrated? What actually happened? Of course, it's also important to think about the other players and thank them. And maybe you have never thanked them properly. You thank them about the things that they participated in making the day or the issue be hereby celebrated. But it is especially important to think clearly about the things that actually happened and tell them in details, so that you can help the new people who are not there to understand, number one, the role God had. Number two, the role various people have had. The person you are celebrating might actually have failed in the recent past. But it's good to lock that failure and remember that you have not always been like this. There was a time you were helpful to me, and I really want to appreciate what that really happened. So, my suggestion, for example, if you are going to have a birthday, you should not talk about the things the birthday boy or the birthday girl did wrong. Just answer the question, why should we thank God for this boy being born, for this man being born, for this woman being born, for this girl being born? Why should we thank God? And all the people that are celebrating will give different perspectives. How has the life of the birthday boy impacted you positively? There may be true that it has also impacted you negatively, but in a celebration, we do not concentrate on the things that went wrong. We think about the things that went right, and you celebrate, you mentioned it, and we have a weakness for most of us. We don't have the culture of telling people thank you. We don't have the culture of commending people. I don't know if you have a competitive spirit or what our problem is, but we don't. So celebration is an opportunity to just sit there and say, yes, this life, I'm grateful to God for giving us this life. For 16 years, for 26 years, for 70 years, this life has meant this and this and this to me. What do they do? Number one, it will cause you to be thankful, because that's what you are discussing. Number two, it will cause others who didn't know how good this guy is to start having a positive picture of this guy who may be currently not good. But number three, it will make the guy know that he is appreciated and start having confidence that he may, and self-awareness, and self-acceptance that can help him to become a more productive and useful member of society. So that's really what celebrations are. And it's my prayer that you think about that. It's the same thing with a wedding. If you are celebrating a wedding, why not talk about how this marriage has impacted you? The people who are not part of the marriage, tell the couple that is married, we thank God for your marriage, this and this and this and this. Again, it will have the same impact. It will have the impact of remembering, but it also make the people know, you mean our marriage blesses someone? That can only help them to become a better marriage. As you give them confidence that God has been good with them, with all the challenges they have had in their marriage, that there is something in them. But number two, like I said earlier, it helps them to start appreciating the various people whom God used in bringing them to where they are. But then thirdly, it keeps making them know that we should be in this marriage for keeps. There are so many people that are thankful for our marriage. We better sort out our small differences and start working on it for the better. But then thirdly, it allows them to rejoice, to be happy. Like I said, celebration gives you a chance to thank people and to appreciate them. And that's what will happen. So the question is, do you have celebrations? I've just said celebrations are important. And they don't have to be birthday and wedding. There can be other celebrations. Something you feel happened that was good. And you want to tell people thank you for their participation in that, whatever that thing was. One of the things that people find difficult to celebrate is death. It's morbid discussion. But maybe it's a good thing to have, not to go laying the cross or cementing the grave of your parents. That adds no value. But what about spending a time to just being grateful to God for the lives of your parents once in a while? 3 things will be useful. It will make the family united, as they remember their patriarch or matriarch. And number 2, it will help you to repeat family values. And the family values, what you are brought up with, you may have lost them over time. And the grandchildren anyway may not know them. And the great-grandchildren might not even have heard of them. So by celebrating the life of the matriarch and patriarch, the values of the family are likely to be also repeated. But in the same way, you start realizing how people came to your help after your parents passed away. And of course, what that will mean, it will cause you again to have a chance to say thank you, but it also show you afraid in need is afraid indeed. It will help you to remember your friendships and value them and be also there for them the way they were there for you. I think those are all very good things that one needs to. So we can see celebrations, whatever, are not a bad thing, and we need to spend about them. And it's not the amount of money you use; it are the words that the facility of facilitating the words That's why to have a celebration and you are drinking, so you can't talk, you can't think, because you're drunk. The drunkenness has kind of seared your mind. It's not a very good idea. You need to be sane and clear so that you are able to share with one another and get excited by each other's sharing. In Deuteronomy chapter 16, we read, "Observe the month of Aviv and celebrate the Passover of the Lord your God, because in the month of Aviv he brought you out of Egypt by night. Sacrifice as the Passover to the Lord your God an animal from your flock or herd at the place the Lord will choose as a dwelling for his name. Do not eat it with the bread made with yeast, but for 7 days eat unleavened bread, the bread of affliction, because you left Egypt in haste, so that all the days of your life you may remember the time of your departure from Egypt. Let no yeast be found in your possession in all your land for 7 days. Do not let any of the meat you sacrifice on the evening of the first day remain until morning." Verse 5, "You must not sacrifice the Passover in any town the Lord your God gives you, except in the place you will choose as a dwelling for his name. There you must sacrifice the Passover in the evening when the sun goes down on the anniversary of your departure from Egypt. Roast it and eat it in the place the Lord your God will choose. Then in the morning return to your tents. For 6 days eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day hold an assembly to the Lord your God, and do not work." Here is a celebration of the departure from Egypt. It is something that the Israelite, God did not want the Israelites to ever forget. The great miracles that made them into a nation, because they were slaves in Egypt. But through that Passover, they became one big nation that still lives today. So he doesn't want them to forget it. Obviously, on one of those Passover festivals, Jesus died on the cross. On a Friday, just before the Passover, the Sabbath, then he stayed in that night, and the next night, on the third day, he rose again. And so we celebrate what we call Easter, which is really the same as the Passover. The Jews celebrate it as Passover. We celebrate it as Easter. And that's why Easter dates keep changing, because we keep not the normal calendar, the calendar we use, but the Jewish calendar, which doesn't agree with ours. That's why we keep changing. The dates in the calendar keep changing. But it's important to understand that the church should celebrate Easter because it reminds them of the great sacrifice Christ did on the cross. But the church doesn't just celebrate Easter. We are encouraged to have Holy Communion regularly. And why are you having Holy Communion? To remind yourself that you are saved free. You just repented and you are forgiven. But it cost the Son of God a painful process. That's what we celebrate in the Holy Communion. It's a memory of the cost of your salvation. And what that means is, if you go through Holy Communion, as you come out there and you are living half life in terms of your commitment to God, once you will remember the pain that Christ went through, hopefully it will cause you to want to take your salvation seriously. The Jews were having the same picture. Number one, they were to eat unleavened bread, which is not tasteful. And they were told that's deliberate, because when you left Egypt, it was not a happy occasion. So as a way of remembering that unhappy occasion, don't eat tasteful bread. Eat unleavened bread. In fact, for 7 days. And the children will say, "Why are you eating such rotten bread?" You now have a chance to explain to your grandchildren, to your great-grandchildren, why you are eating such bread. So it's important to understand that it was not a happy occasion when it happened. But they also eat together as a way of celebrating the love of God, the God who helped them out of the clutches of a superpower is still the God who is there at that point. And so whatever the challenge they are going through this particular year, when they remember the challenges they had in Egypt, or the ancestors had in Egypt, it will help them to trust the same God. After all, He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So they are told there's a particular date. It's called, in the Jewish calendar, it's called month of Aviv. And that's the time they had to celebrate the Passover of the Lord. Because in the month Aviv, He brought you out of Egypt by night. And they are told even the process of how they are going to sacrifice. The details are given. So do you take Holy Communion seriously? Do you take Easter seriously? Do you see why it is important to stop work and just concentrate on it? I know there may be a debate about Saturday and Sunday, but do you see the importance of celebrating Sundays? It was started in the New Testament when they were told, when you come together on the first day of the week. That means they started coming together on the first day of the week rather than on the seventh day. Right up in the New Testament days. Why do it? They celebrate the resurrection of Jesus Christ, the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. And the idea is you stop work just to rejoice about the goodness. Unfortunately, Sunday has become, yes, some people a day of rest, some people a day of business. Sometimes we do not give it the seriousness with which the Passover was given. It's my prayer that you think about Sunday as a specific day when you look back to your failures and realize that you are forgiven through the blood of Jesus Christ, and that because He died, your sins are forgiven. But because He resurrected, you are assured of life eternal. And that means even if you are to die, you know there is life after death. So it gives you hope, whatever the challenges you are likely to go through. The other festival that the Jewish had to have is in verse 9 of Deuteronomy chapter 16. Count off 7 weeks from the time you begin to put the sickle to the standard, to the third grain. Then celebrate the festival of weeks to the Lord your God by giving a freewill offering in proportion to the blessings the Lord your God has given you. And rejoice before the Lord your God at the place you choose as a dwelling for His name, you, your sons and your daughters, your male and female servants, the Levites in your towns, and the foreigners, the fatherless and the widows living among you. Remember that you are slaves in Egypt, and follow carefully these decrees. The festival of weeks had something to do with harvest. So you start harvesting. After you've been harvesting for 7 weeks, you stop all work in order to be grateful and rejoicing. Remember, you are slaves in Egypt, and follow carefully these decrees. So when you realize you now can harvest on your own, you need to put time aside. Do you do that? Is there a time you just celebrate the fact that you have had 12 salaries? Is there a time you celebrate that your business has done well for a year? And you just have a day when you tell God, thank you for the way you have taken me through this year. It doesn't have to be an annual general meeting for your business, but you need to set a time, like something similar to the Festival of Weeks, when you are harvesting and you are rejoicing. 3 things will happen when you do that. Number 1, it will make you start thinking, how did I make this money? How did my business do well? And you start seeing the hand of God in it. Number 2, because you see the hand of God, it will make you have thanksgiving for His interest in your life. But number 3, it will give you hope, whatever the next year is having, that God who has been with you in the past is going to be with you into the future. That is something similar to what the Israelites did as they actually harvested. And I think that will be important. The third festival, the third celebration we read about is called the Festival of Tabernacles. In verse 13, celebrate the Festival of Tabernacles for 7 days after you have gathered the produce of your threshing floor and your winepress. Be joyful at your festival. You, your sons and daughters, your male and female servants, and the Levites, the foreigners, the fatherless, and the widows who live in your towns. For 7 days celebrate the festival to the Lord your God at the place the Lord will choose. For the Lord your God will bless you in all your harvest and in all the work of your hands, and your joy will be complete. 3 times a year, all your men must appear before the Lord your God at the place you will choose. He will choose. At the festival of unleavened bread, that is the Passover, it's a compulsory for men. Women might come, but men must go before the Lord at the temple. Number 2, the Festival of Weeks, to do with harvest. And then number 3, the tabernacle, the Festival of Tabernacles, when they celebrate the Festival of Tabernacles for 7 days, and involve everybody. That's really, no one should appear before the Lord empty-handed when you do so. Each of you must bring a gift in proportion to the way the Lord your God has blessed you. In other words, in these celebrations, carry something that reminds you that whatever you have is a gift from God. And those are 3 festivals that are critical and important. But one of the things I learned about this is that when you celebrate, it's not just for you. It's for you, your wife, your children, the poor, the Levites, and even the foreigners. So that you can't celebrate alone. Others who are poor and don't have anything to celebrate should benefit out of it. So it should be a time of giving as you celebrate. And that's something that should be encouraged, even as we are doing our own celebration, that we should be a blessing to others in it. You know, the portion we are reading goes on to say, appoint judges and officials for each of your tribes in every town the Lord your God is giving you, and they shall judge the people fairly. Do not pervert justice or show partiality. Do not accept a bribe, for a bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and twists the words of the innocent. Follow justice and justice alone, so that you may live and possess the land the Lord your God is giving you. For celebrations to be there, justice has to be there. So they are being told, wow, it is important to celebrate. But please, for those celebrations to work, it will be important that there is justice in the land and fairness. Appoint judges and officials for each of your tribes and in every town your God is giving you. That way they will judge people so people don't fight. Where there is no justice, there will be violence. Where there is no justice, there will be grudges. But now when you have a just judge, a fair judge, then you are assured that whatever decision he makes, you are willing to accept, and people can relate well with one another. That way they can actually go in celebration. And they are being told, do not pervert justice or show partiality. You are not a good judge when you show partiality. Oh, this is my relative. Oh, this one is poor. Oh, this one is rich. No. You go by the facts. One of the things they are being told not to do is they must avoid bribery. Why? Because a bribe blinds the eyes of the wise. As wise as you are, you become a fool the moment you accept a bribe. Another thing, problem why you not have a bribe, it twists the words of the innocent. So that you say, he didn't say this, he meant this. It's because you are loaded, you are bribed. So they are being encouraged in this land of celebration to follow justice and justice alone. Whatever. It doesn't matter who is offering what. And what will happen? You will live and possess the land the Lord your God is giving you. If that's how you live your life. So it's in your celebrations, please have fairness and justice. Verse 21 says, do not set up any wooden Asherah pole beside the altar you build to the Lord your God, and do not erect a sacred stone, for this the Lord your God hates. So in this celebration, they are being reminded not only of justice and fairness, they are also being told not to give credit to other gods. Here is a temple, and yet you are having an Asherah pole, which is a worship of another god. Here is a temple, but you are also having wooden images to worship. I think they are being told if you are to celebrate, there should not be any images that assist your worship. Because in having images that assist your worship, you might end up celebrating and giving thanks to the wrong God. He wants you to just believe in Him with your heart, not with a certain image of who God is. God has no image. He is a spirit. Don't try to have an image of Him. Nobody has seen Him. Nobody will see Him and live. So it will be important to understand that in this life of celebration, encourage the children to understand who God is. That He is there, He is powerful, but He does not show Himself visibly. So do not hear like they are saying, do not set up any wooden Asherah poles. Oh, I'm not worshiping an idol. I'm only using it to help me in my worship. Whatever it is that you are using, and whoever it is that seems to be the one you rely on in order to worship, there will be trouble. You are supposed to go to God directly without necessarily doing things to help you. Just trust in God. So what are we saying? Passover is important, and up to now, the Christians celebrate it as either both as Easter once a year, but also on regular basis as a Holy Communion to remember the death of Jesus Christ rather than the Lamb. And to be important that's something that you understand that you should be celebrating. Number 2, the Festival of Weeks, which has something to do with the harvest period. Again, to remind you, whenever, either annually or whatever harvesting time is, if you are doing business, maybe when your auditor has closed the books, and you look and you had something positive, or you look and you had something negative, but not as big as it could have been, spend that time to celebrate God's goodness in harvest. And then thirdly, we have seen it to be important to have the tabernacle, festival of tabernacle, when you actually move away from where you are and celebrate with others. And we have seen that if you are going to do it in a fairness and justice. Do not celebrate evil. Let evil be called evil. If you did something wrong, admit you did wrong and seek God's forgiveness and seek the forgiveness of the people who know that you actually did it. That's how you encourage fairness, and it will help you. And then finally, we have seen in this chapter that if you are really to celebrate, thanks must go to God, not to some image or idol of one nature or the other. So, that's how the issue is celebrated. We as Christians must also create celebrations. As a church, what do you celebrate? But as you celebrate, do not put value in the celebration. Put value in God. And as a family, you also need to be celebrating your days, regular days that help you to remember certain things. As an individual, you also need times of celebration. Celebration is useful, it's encouraged, and it's honoring to God. So may you set out to have a life of celebration. Of course, you shouldn't celebrate every day, but there must be times when you stop all work, once in a long while to actually just celebrate and be grateful.